So this is about basically a string pattern matching on trees. And I'm Shunsuke from Kyushu University, Japan. So a string is a sequence of characters which is equivalent to a single path where each edge is labeled by a character like this. A label tree is a generalization of a string which has branches like this. And a label tree can also be seen as a compact representation of a set of strings. So if you merge the common prefixes of these three strings, then you get this label tree. So it's a compact representation of such a set of strings. In this talk, we deal with the indexing version of the pattern matching problem on label trees, which is also known as tries. So this is the problem formulation. So we are given try as a preprocessing input. After the preprocessing, we are given a query, which is a string pattern called P. Now the query output is every subpath of this try that matches P. And we consider two versions of tries. The first one is called forward tries. These are basically normal tries where the path is read from the root to the leaves. The other ones are backward tries, which are basically reverse tries where the paths are read from the leaves to the root. So here are some examples. So suppose that we have this forward try where this node is the root and these are the leaves. It's basically rooted tree labels. And here we are given a string pattern P, and our task is to locate all the occurrences of this pattern P in this try, and this AB occurs at these two locations. And to process these pattern matching queries, we build some kind of data structure, which are called indexing structures. One example of such a data structure is this kind of deterministic automaton that accepts all substrings of this try. So when you are given this pattern P, which is AB now, you can traverse this automaton from its initial state, following the first letter A and following the second letter B. And this tells the occurrence of this pattern and also the occurrence positions. The other variant of the problem is the version with backward try. Now we are going to read the labels from the leaves to the root direction. So because this try is reversed, when we query a pattern, we also reverse the pattern. So it was AB, so now it is BA. It's a mirror image of this original pattern. Then we want to locate the occurrences of this BA, like this. For this, we can also build this kind of automaton that accepts all substrings of the reversed try or backward try. Because all the substrings are reversed, the structure of the automaton is different from the one for the forward try. And this automaton is called directed acyclic word graph. I will explain a little bit more on this data structure. Not only this directed acyclic word graph, we also consider two other kinds of indexing structures for forward try. So in total, we consider three kinds of indexing structures for a given word try. The first one is the one that I mentioned, directed acyclic word graph or DAWG for the try. The second one is a suffix tree which is a compact trie representing all substrings of the trie. By compact, I mean that all the nodes are branching in this tree. So this can be seen as a kind of a generalization of automaton where each transition can be labeled by a string, not necessarily by a single character. And this represents all the substrings that appear in this fourth trie. The third one is CDAWG, or compact directed acyclic word graph, which is a compact DAG representing all substrings of T. We also consider these three kinds of indexing structures for backward trie as well. So in total, we have 6 different kinds of indexing structures. Now I explain a little bit more on this DAWG. The substring x of a forward trie T is said to be left maximal if there are two distinct characters a, b, such that both ax and bx are substrings of the trie, or x has an occurrence beginning at the root of T. So for example, this AB has is left maximal because it has two different because AB occurs twice, and this one is preceded by C, and this one is preceded by B. This CABA is also left maximal because it has an occurrence beginning at the root, ABBA, and so on. And this node actually represents 3 substrings. So this one is actually a suffix of this, and this BA is also a suffix of this. A is not represented by this node because A itself is a left maximal, so it is represented by another node. So this generalizes Bloomer et al.'s DAWGs for strings to trees. The DAWGs for backward tries also defined in a similar way. So suffix trees are basically a symmetric data structure to DAWG. So these are defined based on right maximal substrings in the trie. And it generalizes Weiner's suffix trees for strings to trees. And the suffix trees for backward tries are also defined in a similar way. Finally, CDAWG defined for bimaximal substrings. So all the longest for each node, the longest string that is represented by the node is bimaximal. And any other substrings of this bimaximal factor that's not bimaximal are represented by the same node, like this. So intuitively, these CDAWGs are a mixture of DAWGs and the suffix trees. And this also generalizes CDAWGs from strings to trees. So I have shown that this is size bands for these indexing structures for tries. So only partial results are known, as you can see in this table. Here, n is the number of nodes in the input trie. So this is suffix array is an array version of this suffix tree. So here it shows the number of entries in the array. So in this work, I showed this I completed this table by showing the exact by showing these upper bounds for all of these data structures. So some are linear and some are quadratic. Important note is that for a string, which is a path tree with n characters, the sizes of these indexing structures are all linear. So there are significant difference between strings, the case of strings and the case of trees. So not only these upper bounds, but also I showed matching lower bounds for the sizes of these data structures. So for those that are linear, we have exactly the same lower bounds. And for those that are quadratic, we have asymptotically tight lower bounds. So because we have now matching lower bounds and upper bounds, we can use this theta for the bounds of the sizes of these data structures. And if you look at the case of forward try, all these data structures require quadratic number of nodes or edges. So this means that any explicit representation of these data structures require quadratic space for forward try. But when we read a try, then we usually want to read from the root direction, from the root to leaf direction. So I was really wondering if it's possible to get any linear space data structure for forward try. And I found out that although the DAWG for forward try contains quadratic number of edges, there actually exists a linear size compact representation of the DAWG for forward try, which can be built in linear time, where n is the number of nodes in the try. Moreover, this compact representation supports bidirectional pattern matching queries on the try in m log sigma plus OCC time, where m is the pattern length, sigma is the alphabet size, and OCC is the number of pattern occurrences in the try. So in what follows, I want to briefly explain how this can be achieved. So to achieve that result, I used tighter connections of the DAWG for forward try and the suffix tree for the reversed backward try. One important property is that there is a one-to-one correspondence between the nodes of the DAWG for forward try and the nodes of the suffix tree for the corresponding backward try. Here are some examples. If you look at this node of the DAWG for forward try, for this forward try, this node accepts 3 strings: CB, AB, ABA, BA. For this node, there exists a node in the suffix tree of the backward try, which is the mirror image of this forward try, that represents ABAC, ABA, which ends at on the edge leading to this node, and also another one, AB. But if you reverse these strings, then you get these strings. So this kind of one-to-one correspondence holds for all the nodes. So actually, we have 13 nodes in this DAWG and 13 nodes in this subtree. However, the problem is that there's no such correspondence between their edges. You can see that the paths from the source node to this node contains a lot of edges, these blue ones. But in this suffix tree, in the path from the node to this node, there are only 2 edges. So there are no such one-to-one correspondence between their edges. It can also be seen in this table saying that the DAWG for the forward try contains quadratic number of edges, while the suffix tree for the backward try contains only linear number of edges. However, it was shown that we can actually simulate of the quadratic number of edges of the dog for the forward try with the suffix tree for the backward try using only linear space. The basic idea was the following. So we first perform standard decomposition of the suffix tree for the backward try into n over sigma clusters. The sigma is the alphabet size. And each cluster is of O of sigma size. So if we have the suffix tree for a backward try, then these big circles are each cluster. And for each cluster, we store carefully selected dog edges so that the other dog edges can be retrieved upon query. So this part is quite technical, and there's no time for me to explain this, but if you are interested, please check the proceedings. Actually, there's also an archive paper which contains a lot of informative pictures, so maybe it's better to see the archive version. So conclusions and open question. So we have shown a complete perspective on the size bounds of these classical indexing structures such as DAWGs, CDAWGs, suffix trees, and suffix arrays for forward tries and backward tries. And we can simulate the DAWG for forward try with the suffix tree for backward try using only linear space. An interesting open question is whether we can simulate the CDAWG for forward try with the CDAWG for backward try using only linear space. As you can see in this table, the CDAWG for forward try requires quadratic number of edges. But there's a but the CDAWG for the corresponding backward try requires only linear space. So if we can simulate this one also using linear space, then that would be quite nice. Okay, that's all. Thank you.